Hi everyone, and welcome to my review of The Last Scape. Now this was a pretty tricky title to review because as much as I hate the use of the word experience for video games, that's effectively what The Last Scape is, an experience. I feel like if you go into this expecting a traditional game, you might leave a little bit disappointed. This is a first-person flying game. You could even call it floating camera the game, because at times it feels that way while you're grappling with the controls. Once you adjust to the controls and get them to your liking, or you just get used to them, you start to get that sense of flying the game clearly wants you to feel, and at times it actually captures it really well, particularly when flying through the clouds. Make no mistake though, when you start The Last Scape, you instantly know you're playing an indie game, as you saw from my video intro. I don't say that in a disparaging way, because once you get into the game proper, its ambition is really clear. Much like Hellblade, the game immediately recommends you put on headphones, and I have to agree with that sentiment. I found the game to be an oral treat. From the atmospheric sounds through to the score, I really enjoyed the audio on offer here. But where the ambition really shows is in the visuals. This game is the first to use LiDAR laser scanning to produce its visuals, and it makes for an interesting result. While the game is referred to as open world, I'd personally call it an open landscape, and it's quite beautiful when you follow the game's intended playstyle, which, as I mentioned earlier, is flying over the landscape, which it turns out is an actual LiDAR scan of an area of Spain near the border of France. At moments it can be breathtaking to look at, and both the draw distance and sense of scale is simply insane at times. With more time using this kind of tech and better hardware to run it, I can see this technique producing something incredible down the line. Where the seams really show though is when you happen to fly too close to the ground, which one achievement also almost forces you to do. The current Achilles heel of the LiDAR tech within the video game space is close-ups. It almost looks voxel-like on closer inspection, and at times I sort of flew through the geometry. There's also the literal seam where the main map meets its edges. But for me, this really didn't detract from the sheer scope and ambition on display here. But what do you really do in this game? Well, you fly. Unfortunately, I couldn't really get a very clear grasp on the story. From what I could gather, you're collecting your memories, which are represented as rings spread throughout the landscape, and you need to fly through them to collect them. At times it doesn't quite register you've gone through a ring if you fly through at a slight angle, and it's also not clear whether the rings should be flown through in a certain order or not. There are three types of rings: the more ornamental gate-like rings that contain an opening animation, just regular rings with a very subtle fire type effect over them, and then a white tri-ring, which come in a sequence that require you fly through them in order and only activate when flying through the main ornamental rings. It was hard to determine exactly, but that's how I interpreted it anyway. Upon collecting all the rings in the game, you're allowed to fly around for just a little while, chilling before you're transported to the farewell chapter, where, yep, you guessed it, fly some more. But this time it's pure relaxation, no ring collection, just flying over a rather beautiful open ocean before the game eventually bids you farewell and the credits roll. If that sounded like it's a short game, it is. The game doesn't take long to complete, in so much as the collection of rings part of the game. There's even an achievement for beating the game in 9 minutes and 15 seconds, so yeah, you could say it's pretty short. But I feel like this game wasn't designed to be beat. I feel like it's ultimately a game to relax with, to just try and lose yourself flying over the hills of Spain, and there's a real tranquility to it that allows that to happen. The frustration can come when you try to play this as a traditional game that needs to be beaten. The game is divisive, no doubt. There's no doubting that I can completely understand why someone would enjoy it or wouldn't quite get it. But if you approach it with the measured expectations and treat it as more of an experience as opposed to a game, there's a really relaxing use of your time to be had. This is a truly ambitious indie game, and I can completely see the LiDAR technology being refined and used in future games. As this game is also confirmed to be part of the Smart Delivery program for Series X, it's possible we could see some of that refinement as soon as late as this year. While this isn't for everyone, it's worth checking out even to take in the views that the LiDAR tech provides. As the resident achievement hunter of XboxEra, the easy-ish 1000 gamer score and low price entry point also helps. Thanks for watching, and if you like all our content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.